Okay, let's go over the answers in the chat. We'll start with the first one. The first one is nomads. What's the match to nomads? What would be the definition? Go ahead and type the letter in the chat. For nomads. I'm gonna see lots of participation. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'll wait till I have many answers. What is the definition of nomads? Yes, the chat is set too. You can only talk to me right now. Yes, that's that question. So just pick a letter and type in the letter. Kylie, you might have to leave and come back. Hey, we are all over the map on this one, which is why I'm glad we're talking about it. So remember, let me type to Kylie. Okay, so the answer to nomads is C. Remember, nomads were people who moved from place to place and they had no permanent home. So remember, they moved from place to place. They're nomadic. Kind of like, let's think, like Aang from Avatar The Last Airbender. Okay, they were air nomads. They moved from place to place, okay? They were nomadic. All right, number 2, hunter-gatherer. What would be the definition of a hunter-gatherer? Type in the letter. Looking for a letter. It's exactly what it sounds like. Good, I'm seeing good answers. Yes, very nice. A is the correct answer. People who live by hunting wild animals and collecting edible plants. Hence the term hunter-gatherer. Hunter, they hunted wild animals. Gatherer, they gathered edible plants. Good. All right, number 3, primary sources. This is review. So, we only have 2 letters left. I see a mixed bag of responses. Mostly right, though. Mixed bag. Glad we're going over this. Primary sources. I'll wait for a few more responses. Yes, Zora. I see your answer. All right, so primary sources is B. Okay, sources from an eyewitness at an event. Okay, so B is the answer. I saw B's and D's, a mixture. So remember, primary sources. Remember I showed you a diary, a photograph, an autobiography. So B, sources for an eyewitness. They had to be there for it to be a primary source. Primary means 1. Okay, secondary. Okay, secondary would be D, sources written by someone after the event. So it's like textbooks, remember? So secondary sources are written by historians and people like that. So that is D. Good. Thank you for your participation in that. We will move forward now. Okay, so today I do want to finish our artifact presentations, but we're going to do that at the end of class for those of you who did get to do yours yesterday. I haven't forgotten. So never fear. We will do those at the end of class. So for now, we're going to move forward. Okay, today we are going to be talking about the agricultural revolution. Okay, we also call this the Neolithic Revolution, and I should have put that in. I should have put that up there too. But agricultural revolution, okay, also known as the Neolithic Revolution. So this is where there is a shift. We see a shift from being a hunter-gatherer to farming, okay? So we're moving this way, right? We're going from hunting animals, following them around, being nomadic, to settling down, having a farm, not moving. Okay, this was a huge shift for the world. This changed the world as we know it. We turned from hunting and gathering to farming. Something to note about the agricultural revolution is it happened over a long period of time. So when I say this was a transition, I mean it was a transition. Okay, it happened over thousands of years. Thousands of years this transition happened. So, here's the definition for those of you who want to see it in word form. The agricultural revolution is known as the Neolithic Revolution. Neo means new, so we're talking about the new Stone Age. Prior to this, we have been talking about the Paleolithic times, okay? The Old Stone Age. Paleolithic, those are hunter-gatherers. Neolithic, these are going to be your farmers. Okay, we're moving. So it's a transition in human history from small nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers to larger agricultural settlements and early civilizations. So we're getting more sophisticated, right? We're getting more sophisticated. Now, the agricultural revolution is a little bit controversial in that there are advantages and disadvantages. There were good things that came out of it, and there were bad things that came out of it. And we're going to talk more about that today. Sorry. So that is what we're going to be discussing today. So, hold on, let me fix this. Alright, so let's keep going. Now, I wrote it out for you. We're looking at a transition here. So we're looking at paleo, old, to new. Paleo to neo. So really important that you know these terms. Paleolithic, that's what we've been talking about for the last week. Okay, when you think of cavemen, Paleolithic is what you think of. But we're moving into a new era, the new Stone Age, Neolithic. Okay, so I just wanted you to see the terms so that you understand the transition. Now, why would we transition to farming? Okay, so I put Sid up here, Sid the Sloth, for those of you who like Ice Age. Because the last ice age occurred about 14,000 years ago, okay? So that was the end of the ice age. The earth starts to heat up, right? The earth starts to heat up and the climate changes. Now, in the ice, because of the ice age, human beings were like, I am not living where it's cold. And I don't really blame them, you know. I would not want to be where it's cold either. So they move from these northern regions and these southern regions closer to the equator, okay? So they migrate to a place where it's warmer, okay? So really important we understand that they migrate based on their climate. So migration, it's a group's movement from one place to another. So whenever you hear me say they migrate, you know that the whole group is moving from one place to another. So we see a lot of human movement during this time. Okay, a lot of human movement. They're trying to find a place where really then they eventually settle down. And one of those places that they settle down, which will be the first civilization to be created, is here in the Fertile Crescent, okay? So we call this the Fertile Crescent because the land that surrounds the rivers is very fertile. The soil is rich and ready to be farmed on. So you can see this is the Fertile Crescent. It's located, Egypt is over here, okay? And then Saudi Arabia is, modern day Saudi Arabia is right here. And then we go up into like Iran, the Middle East. Okay, so here we have the Tigris River. and the Euphrates. Now, the Tigris and the Euphrates make up an area called Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is the first civilization, and they settled here because it was so fertile. Now, these rivers are violent. They're violent. They flood and they destroy everything, okay? But because of the excessive flooding, it makes this area really rich. Same over here, you can see in Egypt, the Nile River also creates a very fertile land around it. So Egyptians settled over here because they could farm, okay? So this is the first civilization. Mesopotamia is the first civilization that we know of. So, really interesting. We're going to be talking about Mesopotamia later, but I wanted to bring it to your attention that a lot of these nomadic groups came down and they eventually found a place where they could settle and farm. So, really interesting. Now, we're going to pop out of that. And I know you can't see this, so give me a second. I wanted to show you a clip. This clip, it's about 7 minutes long, so it's a little on the long side, but I think the guy is really hilarious. But he's going to be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of farming. So why humans moved from their hunter-gatherer state to farming. But I want to get predictions from you all, and I'm going to change this. Now, I'm going to say this because I have the utmost faith in all of you that you can handle the chat if I change it to everyone. Okay? I need your oath. You can put up your hand that you will be able to handle the chat if I change it to everyone, because I want you to be able to see each other's responses so we can learn from each other. I don't want to hear what you had for breakfast. Unless you want to tell me after class, then you can tell me what you had for breakfast after class. But right now we're talking about social studies and old things, so wonderful, I have your oath. So I'm going to turn it on everyone because I want to hear your predictions and I want you to be able to see your classmates' predictions too, because it's important that we learn from everyone. Okay, here we go. Apply. Shazam. It should work now. Okay, so I want to hear your predictions. What would be, let's start with advantages. What would be the advantage of farming, of changing from hunting and gathering to farming? What would be an advantage? Why would you want to do that? You can settle down and make a home. Good, yeah. So maybe human desire to settle. Everyone has that kind of innate desire to rest. Yeah, so you don't have to pick up and leave all the time. Yeah, you don't have to pack up everything over and over. You can grow your own crops, which leads to more food, right? Because you have more food, so you can store it. Yeah, grow more food, different kinds of food. Yeah, you're not just stuck with meat, right? Even though I love meat. Sorry if you're a vegetarian, but I love meat. Okay, yeah, to have maybe better food. You don't have to hunt every day. So you have that, you remember excessive food. Okay, so you can take a break from making weapons. Yeah, so maybe you don't have to make so many spears, huh? Yeah, so really good predictions. Okay, now I want to hear your predictions. Why do you think it would be a disadvantage to move to farming? What would be the not so great thing about moving to farming? Yeah, you can move with the food. So you're not just stuck on the land, right? Yeah, it might take more work. Good, Camilla. Yeah, farming is hard, okay? It's hard work. Yeah, no, meat is good. Yeah, you guys are right. Bugs will eat the plants. Yeah, so you can have pestilence come in. You can have, yeah, storms can destroy your crops and then you're just stuck, right? Weeds, yeah. Have you guys ever had to weed your front yard? It's not even fun, okay? Weeding is the worst. Uh, there, there are meanies living by you? Yeah, if you have those nosy neighbors you have to deal with. I love it. Okay, yeah, you have more work. Good, good. Yeah, so these are all disadvantages. You guys are so smart. So we're going to watch this clip now, and he's going to go over to more advantages and disadvantages to why farming is a good and a bad thing. Because some historians argue that farming was the worst thing that ever happened to the earth. And some historians think it was a good thing. It's controversial. Let's talk about it. Yay! We love hearing different sides. Okay, Shazam! Can you guys see that? Thumbs up if you can see that. Thumbs down if you cannot. Beautiful. I love it when I see thumbs up. But don't be afraid if you can't see it. Okay, so one thing, we watched the first minute of this clip yesterday about Paleolithic people. Everyone say that to yourself because it's fun to say. Paleolithic. Okay, we talked about Paleolithic yesterday. So he's going to move forward into how we transitioned from Paleolithic to Neolithic. So here we go. It's about 7 minutes long, so bear with me. If you need to, kick your feet up, but don't fall asleep. Here we go.
It's worth noting that cultivation of crops seems to have arisen independently over the course of millennia in a number of places, from Africa to China to the Americas, using crops that naturally grew nearby: rice in Southeast Asia, maize in Mexico, potatoes in the Andes, wheat in the Fertile Crescent, yams in West Africa. People around the world began to abandon their foraging for agriculture. And since so many communities made this choice independently, it must have been a good choice, right? Even though it meant less music and scootily pooping. Thanks, Thought Bubble. All right, to answer that question, let's take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of agriculture. Advantage: controllable food supply. You might have droughts or floods, but if you're growing the crops and breeding them to be hardier, you have a better chance of not starving. Disadvantage: in order to keep feeding people as the population grows, you have to radically change the environment of the planet. Advantage: especially if you grow grain, you can create a food surplus, which makes cities possible, and also the specialization of labor. Like in the days before agriculture, everybody's job was foraging, and it took about 1,000 calories of work to create 1,000 calories of food. And it was impossible to create large population centers. But if you have a surplus, agriculture can support people not directly involved in the production of food. Like, for instance, tradespeople who can devote their lives to better farming equipment, which in turn makes it easier to produce more food more efficiently, which in time makes it possible for a corporation to turn a profit on this 99-cent double cheeseburger. This is delicious, by the way. It's actually terrible, and it's very cold. And I wish that I had not eaten it. I mean, can we just compare what I was promised to what I was delivered? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is not that. Some would say that large and complex agricultural communities that can support cities and eventually inexpensive meat sandwiches are not necessarily beneficial to the planet or even to its human inhabitants. Although that's a bit of a tough argument to make, coming to you as I am in a series of ones and zeros. Advantage: agriculture can be practiced all over the world, although in some cases it takes extensive manipulation of the environment, like, irrigation, controlled flooding, terracing, that kind of thing. Disadvantage: farming is hard. So hard, in fact, that one is tempted to claim ownership over other humans and then have them till the land on your behalf, which is the kind of non-ideal social order that tends to be associated with agricultural communities. So why did agriculture happen? Wait, I haven't talked about herders. Herders, man, always getting the short end of the stick. Herding is a really good and interesting alternative to foraging and agriculture. You domesticate some animals and then you take them on the road with you. The advantages of herding are obvious. First, you get to be a cowboy. Also, animals provide meat and milk, but they also help out with shelter because they can provide wool and leather. The downside is that you have to move around a lot because your herd always needs new grass, which makes it hard to build cities unless you are the Mongols. By the way, over the next 40 weeks, you will frequently hear generalizations followed by, unless you are the Mongols. But anyway, one of the main reasons herding only caught on in certain parts of the world is that there aren't that many animals that lend themselves to domestication. Like, you have sheep, goats, cattle, pigs, horses, camels, donkeys, reindeer, water buffalo, yaks, all of which have something in common: they aren't native to the Americas. The only halfway useful herding animal native to the Americas is the llama. No, not that llama. 2 L's. Yes, that llama. Most animals just don't work for domestication. Like, hippos are large, which means they provide lots of meat, but unfortunately they like to eat people. Zebras are too ornery. Grizzlies have wild hearts that can't be broken. Elephants are awesome, but they take way too long to breed. Which reminds me, it's time for the open letter. Elegant. But first, let's see what the secret compartment has for me today. Oh, It's another double cheeseburger. Thanks, secret compartment. Just kidding. I don't thank you for this. An open letter to elephants. Hey elephants, you're so cute and smart and awesome. Why you gotta be pregnant for 22 months? That's crazy. And then you only have one kid. If you were more like cows, you might have taken us over by now. Little did you know, but the greatest evolutionary advantage? Being useful to humans. Like here is a graph of cow population, and here is a graph of elephant population. Elephants, if you just inserted yourself into human life the way cows did, you could have used your power and intelligence to form secret elephant societies conspiring against the humans. And then you could have risen up and destroyed us and made an awesome elephant world with elephant cars and elephant planes. It would have been so great, but no, you gotta be pregnant for 22 months and then have just one kid. It's so annoying. Best wishes, John Green. Right, but back to the agricultural revolution and why it occurred. Historians don't know for sure, of course, because there are no written records, but they love to make guesses. Maybe population pressure necessitated agriculture even though it was more work, or abundance gave people leisure to experiment with domestication, or planting originated as a fertility right, or, as some historians have argued, people needed to domesticate grains in order to produce more alcohol. Charles Darwin, like most 19th century scientists, believed agriculture was an accident, saying, "A wild and unusually good variety of native plant might attract the attention of some wise old savage." Off topic, but you will note in the coming weeks that the definition of savage tends to be not me. Maybe the best theory is that there wasn't really an agricultural revolution at all, but that agriculture came out of an evolutionary desire to eat more. Like early hunter-gatherers knew that seeds germinate when planted, and when you find something that makes food, you want to do more of it. Unless it's just food, then you want to do less of it. I kind of want to spit it out. Oop. Oh, that's much better. So early farmers would find the most accessible forms of wheat and plant them and experiment with them, not because they were trying to start an agricultural revolution, because they were like, you know what would be awesome? More food. Like on this topic, we have evidence that more than 13,000 years ago, humans in southern Greece were domesticating snails. In the Frankfurt cave, there's a huge pile of snail shells. Most of them are larger than current snails, suggesting that the people who ate them were selectively breeding them to be bigger and more nutritious. Snails make excellent domesticated food sources, by the way, because A, surprisingly caloric, B, they're easy to carry since they come with their own suitcases, and C, to imprison them you just have to scratch a ditch around their living quarters. That's not really a revolution, that's just people trying to increase available calories. But one non-revolution leads to another, and pretty soon you have this, as far as the eye can see. Many historians also argue that without agriculture we wouldn't have all the bad things that come with complex civilizations, like patriarchy, inequality, war, and unfortunately famine. And as far as the planet is concerned, agriculture has been a big loser. Without it, humans never would have changed the environment so much, building dams and clearing forests, and more recently drilling for oil that we can turn into fertilizer. Many people made the choice for agriculture independently, but does that mean it was the right choice? Maybe so and maybe not, but regardless, we can't unmake that choice. And that's one of the reasons I think it's so important to study history. History reminds us that revolutions are not events so much as they're processes, that for tens of thousands of years, people have been making decisions that irrevocably shaped the world that we live in today. Just as today we're making subtle, irrevocable decisions that people of the future will remember as revolutions. Next week, we're gonna journey to the Indus River Whoa.
Okay, so then he goes into what they talk next week. But a lot of great stuff in that video, and that he goes over some more advantages and disadvantages that we didn't discuss. Like disadvantage, Lainey has a little friend. Hello, dog. Alright, so disadvantage, the environment. Okay, farming is really tough on the environment. We had to clear land. We have engines that, shoot up emissions, causing a lot of CO2. I mean, there's a lot of damage to farming. However, we have a ton of food. Like, you can go to Walmart and we have shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves of food, okay? So much food. So, there are pauses? No. There are positives and negatives to farming, okay? So, really important. Now, what we're going to do for the next 20 minutes is, let's see. Yeah, we have till 10:30. Okay, this is good. So, what we're going to do for the next 20 minutes before we come reel it back in and do our presentations is we are going to learn about what oh my goodness, excuse me. What we're going to learn about what Paleolithic people ate and what Neolithic people ate, the difference, okay? Because they both ate different things, okay? The Paleolithic diet and the Neolithic diet. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to see if you know, if you can guess which group ate what. That sounded really confusing, so I'm going to show you your instructions right now. Okay, so for the next 20 minutes, you are going to go onto your canvas, and I'm going to show you this 1 second. And you're going to click on Social Studies. Okay, here we go. Sharing my screen. So I'm in Social Studies right now. And the very last thing under Module 1, it says Paleolithic versus Neolithic diets. Okay, so you're going to click on this. And once you click on this, I have written out the instructions. Callie, you can't see it. Darn it. Darn it, darn it. Okay, so let's go back. Here we go, Shazam. There we go. Hopefully you can see it now. Okay, so Paleolithic versus Neolithic diets. So you're going to complete these tasks. Okay, you can do it on a separate sheet of paper. If you want to print them, you are more than welcome to. If we were all together, I would pass out these to you guys, but we're not together, so I'm having to do it in a virtual way. Okay, so once you click, you're going to do it in order 1, 2, 3. You're going to read this passage, Paleolithic diet. It's very short, it's only 1 page, it won't hurt you, and it's very interesting to see what they ate. Okay, the second task, I don't know if you could see that tab actually. Could you see that when I changed tabs? Some of you couldn't. Okay. Anyway, once you'll see what I'm talking about once you click on the PDF. The second thing you're going to read the Neolithic diet, and you're going to answer a prompt at the bottom. The prompt says, how and why did diets change among early humans? So you're going to answer that prompt. The third thing you're going to do, oh my goodness gracious. I need to go back. Anyway, the third thing you're going to do is number 3. Actually, and I can show you on here. You are going to do this activity. It's called, which era did this dish come from? It's going to describe a dish to you, and you have to guess, was it from the Paleolithic era or the Neolithic era, and why? You can use your readings to answer these questions. Now, let me be clear about something. This activity is important because tomorrow we're doing it's a fun activity. It's a creative activity. I think it's fun. It's funny. Anyway, so you need to finish this so you can do your work tomorrow, which is why if you don't finish this in class, then this is your homework for tonight. I never give homework. I always give classwork. But just so you know, I'm giving you 20 minutes now to finish this. And if you don't finish it, you have to finish it tonight before tomorrow. Capiche? Wonderful. Okay, I will be here. I'll be quiet so you can work. If you have a question, you can hit the chat button and ask it to me. Just as a reminder, to get there, you go onto your Social Studies tab, and it's under Module 1. It's the very, very last thing. It says Paleolithic versus Neolithic diets. Follow the directions on the page. And again, you can print if you want to. Yeah, printing is easier if you have one, but I know that not everyone has a printer. So if you don't have a printer, just use a separate sheet of paper and you can write your answers on there. So if you're doing it on a separate sheet of paper, you just put your answers on another sheet of paper, unless you print it out. Then they give you space. And yes, Sarah, if your iPad is connected, you can print it from there.